good morning, good afternoon, and good night. My name is Mar Fox Jr., and this is Become the Podcast. How do you become anything? You dream, you declare, you commit, and success is your next breath. We are listening to the sounds of the Vince Guaraldi Trio. I'm pretty sure I'm saying the G word wrong, but Guaraldi Trio. So if you've ever listened to or watched the Charlie Brown Christmas Story, or if you've watched any Charlie Brown animated films, he did a lot of the music and a lot of the jazz for the cartoons. So some of what you listen to may be reminiscent of a Charlie Brown type of presentation, and so that's who it was. It was the Vince Guaraldi Trio, and I'm pretty sure I'm saying his middle name wrong or the middle word wrong, but I'm trying my best. I'm not the best reader, okay? I have such a hard time pronouncing names, so please forgive me. So one thing before I get into my little rant. Today's going to be a rant, so I don't know if I'm going to give you 3 points of contact in my delivery, but I just want to kind of give you some of my process. So as much, hopefully I'm helping someone out with these podcasts, but as much of a help I'm being to someone else, I'm also being a help to myself, in that doing these podcasts every day is almost like a diary for me. It's therapeutic. It keeps me conscious of what's taking place throughout my day. And I say that because every day I'm looking for a lesson. And every day, and within each and every moment of my life, I'm looking for the lesson. And there's not too much time that goes by where I'm not trying to extract some sort of meaningful moment or lesson that I could use to either help someone else with or use as content for the podcast. So every night I try to do it quickly, but it always takes about an hour. I write down a theme, 3 points of contact. I think about the day. I think about what I've experienced throughout the course of the week, and then I work to create content. And these podcasts just it gives me an incentive to make sure that I'm conscious of what I'm experiencing. And so I'm pretty sure people write songs every day. People write poems every day. People write in their journal every day. Some people vlog. Some people blog. Some people, they have these methods in which they have these moments throughout their day that some people meditate, some people pray. But they have these moments that just keep them connected and keep them aware of what's going on in their lives, so that they have an understanding of how their mind, body, and soul are reacting to each and every moment. And I think it's healthy, because one of the things in life that we all need is these moments to be in tune and made aware of our inner person. So you'd be foolish to think that you can just experience life and not you can experience life without some sort of reflection and move on, becoming stronger, becoming more intelligent, become more wise, and so on and so forth. The only way that happens is you have to keep up with how your mind, body, and soul are reacting to each and every moment. Because how you react to a moment at age 20 is going to be different than when you experience that same type of experience at age 30 and at age 40. And we can even make it even smaller gaps and say how you react to that moment in week 1 will be different than week 2, and how you respond to that moment in day 1 will be different in day 2, and how you respond to that moment in second 1 will be different in second 2, because there's going to be something that happens to you before and during that might be different on day 1 than it is in day 2, right? So there's always things happening in your life that are going to impact you in such a way that when you get an experience, and it can be the same experience, you're going to respond to it differently because of everything that has happened at that moment and then everything that has happened before that moment. So you have to be in constant contact and constant dialogue with yourself to make sure that you're aware of where you are at that moment based upon what you've seen and what you're looking at, to make sure that you respond to things in a way that is sincere and true. Right? So what these podcasts do for me is they put me in a position or give me incentive to be mindful of the day and mindful of my week and mindful of my month and mindful of my moment, so that I'm able to take the jewel or the pearl of wisdom from that moment, and then I put it into these podcasts, and it gives me an opportunity to think through to think through my own thoughts. It gives me an opportunity to, what I say, have some inner dialogue, and to basically be my own self-therapist. I have this line that I use from time to time. It's the voice of God is the mind of man, and that throws people off a little bit, but the voice of God is the mind of man. And this is just my personal opinion, and this is my personal belief, and this is my philosophy that keeps me rocking and rolling. But if we are created in God's image, I believe that we have some of God's traits, right? It's just like any two people who have a child, that kid is going to share traits of the two parents. And so if we were created by God in his image, we're going to share some of those traits. Now, we are not divine as he is, but we do share some divine ability. And so I think that the gut feeling, the inner voice, your conscience, I think some of that is God working through us to help us do the right thing. And so with that being said, I believe that although we can use the therapist and although we can use different support systems to help us figure things out, I also think that what we have inside, which is God, we can also access our own inner God, our own inner person, to make sense of life and to guide us and help us move forward. So the voice of God is the mind of man. We can also use what we already have within us to make sure that we're on the straight and narrow and make sure that we're making sense of this life that we live. We don't always have to use the outside voices. So that being said, this is what this podcast does for me. So let me get into my little rant, because I just got done ranting around for 8 minutes about something else. So I'm at the gym today, and a gentleman comes up to me and says that he's on my court for basketball training. So I said, cool. So he says, my son is going to jump into your session. I was like, all right. So I see this little boy, and this little boy, it looks really, really young. It looks very, very just green, right? It looks like he hasn't played basketball at all. So I'm looking for this kid's. Now I see the boy behind the father, but I'm looking for another boy that's my son's age and size, which my son is 10, and he does the training with me. Marv does the training with me. And so I'm looking for somebody that's above my son's size and age or whatever. Like, this kid can't possibly be about to train with my kid. Not that my son is so good at basketball, but Marv is just, he's a novice, but he belongs on this advanced training court with me, not this little boy. So the guy says, yeah, here's my son right here. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, how old is your son? He says 6. I said 6. And this is a customer service thing that you probably shouldn't do, but I just kept it real with him. I'm like, man, your son is 6, man. You want to train your kid and he's 6? He said, yeah, I want to train my kid. Now, there's several different courts that this kid should be on. Some younger, there's a court with the Lord Rim. His son should be on that court. And then there's 2 other courts where we do some more lower level basketball skill training. And what I do on my court is this expectation attached to it. So I'm like, fam, you need to be over there You need to be over there with the younger kids. He's like, no, I want to throw my kid in your session. And parents always want to put their kid in these more advanced sessions and workouts for them, not for the kid. Let's not put the kid in a training session that's appropriate for his skill level. Nah, let's throw him with the maniac coach who's expecting kids to be able to dribble, pass, shoot, move without the basketball, and catch. Let's put him over there. So your kid just started playing. He's 6 years old. Let's put him with the coach who's got all these high expectations of kids being able to be fundamentally sound. Let's put him over there instead of put him on a hoop where it's low. So I was like, can your kid get the ball up to 10 feet? The father's like, no. He gets it like right up to the rim. He can hit the net. But I'm like, so you want your kid to be with me? You know I do my workouts are more advanced, and you want your kid to be over there with me. He can't even get the ball up to the hoop, right? He can't even get the ball up to the rim. But you want your kid over there with me, right? So I'm saying this to him, and he's like, yeah. We just want to put him through the workout and see how he responds. I'm like, why don't you have the kid put a kid in an appropriate put him with the coach where the content is appropriate for his age and his skill level. Let him succeed. Let him make some shots. Let him have some success versus throw him into the fire and the gauntlet right away. There's a time and a place for that. But not when he's 6 years old. It's a little baby. It's a little kid. He's still trying to figure out how to play the game. He's still figuring out a whole bunch of stuff about just how to move. And then you're going to put a ball in his hand and then expect him to dribble, shoot. So, as always, if that's what the parent want, cool, right? So I go ahead, run my workout, and I'm cutthroat. If the ball is passed, and I'm not passing to these kids. The kids are passing to themselves. So if the kid passes to him, the ball flies through their hands, flies right through his hands. Kid can't catch, and I just simply say off the floor, next, right? So I do this for about 50 minutes. This kid can barely catch, can barely dribble, can barely do anything. I'm asking the kid to take 2 dribbles, jump stop, pivot, and get up a shot. The kid's traveling all over the place, right? The kid makes one shot. He finally gets up the ball to the hoop. He makes one shot. The father's clapping and cheering him on. I said, this is ridiculous, man. Meanwhile, all the other kids are switching shots from about 15 to 18 feet out. They're dribbling. They're kicking the ball out. They're responding to the instruction. They're getting criticized at the same time. They're responding. They're making improvements, making adjustments. This kid can't make any adjustments. This kid is making 0 adjustments. And the father's just so happy that he's with the coach who seems the most intense. Never mind what the kid needs. Man. So we get done. And so the father says, so what do you think? I'm like, what do I think? Are you serious? What do you think? He says, I think he needs to be at another court. I said, yeah. Because this kid can't play dead. Like, he's 6 years old. And so here's some of my dialogue I had with him. Number one. This is what I told my kid. My son is 10, right? He's outside every day. He watches basketball on TV. He watches basketball games. And he goes on YouTube and watches basketball clips. Once Marv decides he wants to be about something, he's all in. Marv watches trivia. He just got done reading a book that's probably about 200 pages, maybe a little bit more than 200 pages. No pictures, just reading about the history of the NBA. Just reading about the history of the NBA. He's all in. And I'm not saying my son is a model for like how you should raise your kid or anything like that. But just not too long ago, he says, Pop, can I play on a basketball team? I said, sure, when you get a left hand. I said, I'm not investing in half a ball player. I'm going to invest in a whole ball player. You invest in yourself and you go out there and develop your left hand, and then I'll invest in you. That's how I treat my own son. That might be cutthroat. I don't know. But that's my 10-year-old son who loves the game of basketball, who eats, sleeps the game, who watches games every night. He knows the whole weekly schedule for NBA basketball. And I'm not even interested in putting him on the team until he has a left hand. So what do you think I feel about a parent asking me if I would train their kid for an hour that's 6 years old? Get the hell out of here, man. So I tell the kid, I tell the pops, I was like, first of all, your kid is 6 years old. Shouldn't he be playing with toys? Shouldn't he be using his imagination? Shouldn't he have an opportunity to be curious? The game can sometimes snatch kids' innocence away. Sometimes parents want to put their kids in basketball, and it's like, yo, man, you want to put your kid in this authoritarian nature sport where he's being told what to do all the time? Why don't you go, don't talk to the parent, why don't you go outside and play with him? Why don't you go hoop with him? Why don't you go shoot around with him? And his excuse was, well, I work a lot. And he's always on the iPad, right? He's always on the tablet. And he's the only child, so everybody coddles him. Everybody gives him, everybody's delicate with him. And I want to put him in a situation where he can, there's some structure and added pressure. I get that. I understand that. I'm an only child. So I totally, empathize with him. I got you. But fam, you're going to spend $60 private training. Let's say it starts at $50. You're going to spend $50 for somebody to be with your 6-year-old son in a gym for an hour. You sure you can't find something else to do with that money? You sure you can't find some time to hang out with your kid after work? You can't find something to do with your kid besides take him to a trainer, drive the trainer crazy, because the trainer now is training with a kid who's 6 years old who could break down at any moment because he's 6. He's not even emotionally developed enough to even be in a workout session where he's getting pushed and challenged. They can't even understand the concept of like, what I do today is going to impact me tomorrow. They can't even understand that. You're teaching this kid how to do these dribbling drills and they have no point of reference or no opportunity to exercise. Like, when I work on this drill, what actually happens in the game so that I can make sense of what drill that I'm doing. No, this is how the kid working on dribbling moves with no point of reference, no point. Your kid should be out hooping. Let's let the kid naturally explore the game, and then as they explore the game and they get better and they start playing in more structured situations, whether it's camps, clinics, maybe a little rec and egg league, then let's get some training. Then let's see if it's worth the investment, because the kid might play basketball and be like, I hate structured basketball. I'd rather just play in my driveway. But I do love soccer. Or I hate soccer. I do love art. I do love drawing. Put them invest in some sort of drawing classes, some art classes. But it all comes back to the parent. The father said, I like the way you train. I like the way you coach these kids. I like the way you push them. I like. I said, fam, it's all about you. It's not about the kid. It's all about you. I said, man, I said, why don't, if you like it so much, why don't you jump in the workout? I'll train you. And then we'll see how much you like it. When I'm pushing you, when I'm telling you go left and you don't have a left, and I'm telling you to dribble and score with your left hand, regardless of how it feels and regardless of how uncomfortable it is. The father and I had some actual good dialogue. I know I sound intense now, but we had some really good dialogue. And he said, you know what, coach, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to send him down to the lower session, let him get his confidence. I said, yeah, man. And he brought this up. He said, when my son finally made a shot, he was so happy he didn't even know what to do next. I said, yeah. Why don't you have him shoot on a lower hoop so he can get that experience and get that feeling over again and again and again. And that's how you fall in love with the game. You fall in love with the game playing with your friends, going in the backyard, shooting, going to the hoop court, shooting by yourself. You fall in love with it. Now you fall in love with it so much. Now you want to see if you can shoot on somebody else, 1-on-1, 2-on-2. You want to see if you can shoot over your father. You want to see if you can make a layup on your sister, right? You fall in love with it, and then that love will make you want to challenge yourself a little bit more and a little bit more. And next thing you know, you're playing for the middle school team. Now you're playing for the high school team. And if you're lucky enough, now you're playing for a college team. And if you're really, really lucky, you work your butt off, now you might be playing and somebody paying you money to play. But it all starts with experiencing success on a small level. You don't just throw a novice into the highest level. You don't just play 2K. You don't just play 2K for the first time and go on Hall of Fame. You got to work your way up to that. You know what I'm saying? Experience success on these lower levels and then build your way up. And then you fall in love with the success and the small victories, and that encourages you to now challenge yourself on the higher levels. So to all you parents who listening, man, make sure your kids are investing in themselves before you invest in them. I know that sounds real bad, right? Marv, how dare you? But think about it. If I'm a business owner, I got 3 employees. I want to invest in one of them. I want to send one of them out to California to be trained so that they can bring back that training and that knowledge and that skill set back to the company? Who am I going to invest in? The kid who works his butt off and uses his own and shows initiative? Am I going to work? I'm going to invest in the kid who does just a little bit, who just enough. They do their job and that's it. Or am I going to invest in a kid who I have to pull and beg to do their job, to do just their job? I'm going to invest in a kid who does his job and a little bit more. It's easy money. It's a simple decision. But a lot of times we invest in our kids, and our kids aren't even investing in themselves. Now there's a certain amount of push. I'm gonna push you. You gotta get better. But you gotta show. I'm gonna push you because I know that there's some ways, and you may not understand. You may not understand that the kid may not understand that they need to go hard. They need to be invested. They need to kind of finish things. So you have to teach them that. But when it comes to sport and things that are like really optional, the things that are just luxury items, I want to see a kid invest in themselves. I want to see somebody invest in themselves, and based upon their own investment, based upon what I told you, based upon what I've showed you, let me see you invest in yourself. And once I see you investing in yourself, now I'm going to invest in you. That's how it works. But a lot of parents, our kid goes to the basketball court, we put him on the basketball team, we pay for that. Kid only plays basketball when they go to practice. That's it. It's nice outside or it ain't nice outside, whatever the case may be. You got basketballs laying around. You got $100, $150 pair of sneaks laying around, and your kid only play basketball when you take them to practice. And then and then they go to the game and they suck and they stink, and you like, we're gonna get him a trainer. Your kid don't work out on his own, so why you gonna get the trainer? Or in this situation, the parent is more in love with the trainer, or more so in love with the concept of their kid getting pushed and trained and becoming great more so than the kid is. The kid ain't like, dude, I can take it or leave it. But the parent like, nah, you're gonna get into this basketball. We're gonna get you a trainer and all this other stuff. So that's my rant. The father did make the right decision. He sent them down, and I won't have to deal with that kid. But I know I'm gonna have to deal with some parent who's going to tell me my son loves the game, my daughter loves the game. And I'm like, how often does your kid play per week? How often does your kid do basketball? Whether it's watching the game, playing the game, how often do they do it? And the parents are like, oh, I don't know, like maybe once or twice, but your kid love the game. Get out of here, man. If I curse, it'd be get the out of here, man. But I don't curse. So anyway, that's it, man. I'm done. That's my rant for the day. 2 points of contact. I guess is parents, if you're going to invest in your kid, make sure that your kid's investing in themselves when it comes to sport and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Push is good, but when it's all about you and what you want to experience versus what your kid want to experience, that can sometimes go south. It can go the wrong way. And then the last thing is, find some way in which you can find time to have some inner dialogue. Find some time to make sure you are aware of how you feel about what you are experiencing, second to second, minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. Make sure you're conscious of, how you feel about what you just experienced. You might see something secondhand. You might be at the grocery store and see a parent disciplining their kid, and you're like, how do I feel about that? I know the kid was wrong. How do I feel about that? Or maybe the kid wasn't wrong. How do I feel about that? And you ain't got to say nothing to him. You ain't got to do nothing about it, but just how do I feel about it? You know what I'm saying? Or you might see something that on TV, some politician say this. How do I feel about that? And just have a stance. It ain't got to be right. You might come across somebody who has an opposing view. That's cool, but just how do you feel about it? So that now when somebody asks you a question, you can give them an honest response. There's value in that, man. Because so many people are just responding to life and they have no clue what they really feel. Because all depending on what the day is and all depending on what happened at that moment and what happened beforehand, and you could give them the same experience, but you'll get a different response every time because some people are responding to life without any level of awareness. Everything is just totally chance and random. So that's it, man. 24 minutes. You might be wondering, why is Marv going almost 24 minutes? I upgraded my package. So no longer, so I can go for 45 minutes if I want, but I'm not. I'm going to work to keep the podcast around 15 minutes so that you know that every time you deal with me, all you got to do is stomach me for 15 minutes and then we'll be done. So with that being said, Marv Fikes Jr., become the podcast, and I'm done. Take care. Y'all be good.